So I want to retro.
And welcome back to the 12th man. Delighted to bring you Jamie Noonan back on. Man City Spurs coming up this weekend. It's been a long time coming, Jamie. This cup final, we were chatting about this for 3 months now. Delighted to have Emmett Helferty making his debut on the show all the way from Zaragoza in Spain. He's had a rough night as well, so it's great commitment that he's made it here. We're going to be chatting loads about the Super League as well, about fan protests and stuff this week. So stay with us, and I hope you enjoy the show. He's on 350 grand a week, and he's literally doing live streams on Twitter during a game like it's person.
It's madness, like there's boys out there getting 350 grand a week, not even
so only one quick card for me. Like only the one Harley. My opinion is like the game every Well, lads, it's been a crazy week. Football. I don't think I've ever experienced a week like it with all that Super League talk. Even Mourinho getting sacked doesn't make mainstream news at the time, and that's quite something because he has, everyone says, box office and very popular amongst the media, and that was sort of put to one side. You seen the other night Leeds against Liverpool, Monday Night Football, no real build up to the game. It was all about the Super League, and I think that's the only place they start. I had Niall Logan here last night, obviously a footballer playing in America. Former Darien Van Hurst player, and he said at the time he couldn't believe that something like this was going to happen. He said as a player, he knew at the time that all these players would take a stand, and that's what happened. So, Emmett, when it all sort of broke out, were you surprised that there's obviously been talk about the Super League, but when you seen that morning, the Super Sunday stuff, Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, Roy Keane, Ricky Richards, all saying their piece on it, were you surprised that it came out still that night that it was going to be happening?
Well, I think it was during the United and Burnley match when they kind of mentioned it, and then there was a bit of talk at half time about it. But initially, to be honest, I thought it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Like in a million years, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
But then I thought, right, these boys definitely know. The possible consequences. There's Emmett Little slabber in there.
Yeah.
These boys know the definite.
We're trying to open up a Spanish branch. That's why we've Helferty in here. We're trying to open up a Spanish branch here in Zaragoza. So on here, he's going to show these Spanish friends. But go ahead, Emmett. What he said.
I thought, initially I thought never going to happen, and then I suppose later on Sunday night I thought this is actually going to happen. I thought these clubs definitely, out of the 12 clubs that were announced to be involved, I thought there's no way they haven't done their homework. Yep. And they know the potential consequences. They know that they could get thrown out of the leagues and out of the Champions League. It's like, they know this is going to happen and they've committed to it. So then I thought, this is actually real.
Yeah. Jamie, do you think they expected such a backlash from the media and the fans? They obviously probably thought maybe some people mightn't like it, but more so like the Premier League when they set up in 1982, the new Champions League format when the European Cup was scrapped, there was a bit of a backlash, but not as much as this. Do you think they expected something similar? Do you think they were caught out by the massive and it was everywhere, all over the news? Even Gears writing on Facebook, "What's all this Super League chat?" It was all over the news. Sky News, it was their main headline and stuff. So, do you think that they were surprised at how much coverage it actually got?
I think they were surprised how much negative coverage they got. Obviously, I thought when they put it out, they should have put out more information. I wasn't dead against it from the outset, because if you look at even since they've all announced that they're not taking part, UEFA started implementing their change for the new Champions League. Now people's getting on their backs. Where I felt that if it was going to happen or not happen, they should have used it as a leverage. They sorted out. I think we talked during a week where we felt that the Champions League has diluted a bit. Yep. The UEFA Cup or the Europa League, what was the UEFA Cup, it's becoming just a shambles and people didn't want to be a part of it, where it was the opportunity to have, without TV licensing problems and stuff like that, you could have 2 top level competitions. Yep. You know what I mean? But I do think my biggest problem with the way the clubs handle it, I think they could have leveraged themselves a wee bit better. Yep. They protect, because if it goes in, if there's another 4 teams that end up in the Champions League from next year on, I think they're looking to get it going straight away. But you'd argue, where's these 4 teams coming from? Like, are they bringing in?
And the problem I have with Jamie, it's 36 teams now. It could be 42 teams a year. Where do you draw the line? And Emmett, the one thing I looked at, right, and I thought that whether you agree with it or not, and most people didn't agree with it, but I found it very hypocritical that UEFA were coming out and hammering these teams. Sky was coming out and hammering these teams. It wasn't so long ago that Sky were trying to charge $14.95 and BT for games during a pandemic, and they were on about the money. It wasn't so long ago that UEFA were basically trying to reform everything under the Champions League as well, and making it this global, and you hear about the Premier League as well, having the 39th game across different countries, going to America. So did you find it all a bit hypocritical? Obviously the fans can have their say in it, but all these big TV companies were coming out. And then you've seen as well, it's been compared to the racism thing with UEFA. You've seen the Slavia Prague and Rangers thing a few weeks ago, where, UEFA didn't do a lot about it, really. They just slapped somebody with a 10-game ban. But as soon as they thought they were losing their money, they were absolutely hammering all these teams. So does it just go to show you that UEFA and FIFA are just as corrupt as all these are owners, and they're only interested in one thing, and that's money?
Well, the whole thing, football for 20 years has just been becoming more focused on money. The whole thing, it's just all about money. Like the players, if you look at Haaland and what his agent Raiola has been suggesting, his potential transfer fee, sign-on fee, wages, the whole thing's about money. UEFA were just angry that they were being cut out. Like, essentially, they're just a middleman.
Yep.
They get the money and then they decide how much they pay out. I saw an article. It was Perez, Real Madrid's chairman, the other day, saying, I know how much LeBron James gets paid, but I don't know how much the president of UEFA gets paid.
Yep. It's ridiculous. 100%. I mean, seen it with John Delaney over here at the AFA. Loads of stuff he was up to. Going back to that France World Cup goal that Henry scored, Henry set up for Gallas. There was massive elements of corruption. Nobody knew what Hegarty was on, and then it came out that he got a $5 million payout. The same as Sepp Blatter. He's not allowed anywhere near football anymore after what he did. Allegations of corruption. There's sex scandals on there as well. So they're up their eyeballs on it. Jamie, do you think that this was a great victory for the fans? I know you said you weren't totally against it, but I think morally, in terms of we thought, I was similar to you, I thought the idea of getting more of the top teams playing each other was definitely something that went sort of went missing in this. Everyone was sort of getting caught up on how the format of it. But actually what sort of went missing of it was, which I didn't see a lot of people doing, apart from me and you, was saying that why can we not get better games in September, October, November, instead of having to wait the April, they see PSG against Bayern Munich, they see Man City against Dortmund. Why can we not have them games earlier in the competition? Why not make the Champions League 24 teams? But we and you both talked about this again. It's not going to be happening because UEFA are more interested in more games, more TV money. Like I think this new Champions League format's going to take the games from 115 to 215, so an extra 100 games. Every team would have an extra 4 games before we go to a knockout stage. So you'd have 10 group games instead of 6. So do you think that it was a great victory for the fans that they won the battle against the owners, and it puts the owners now of some of these clubs in a really difficult situation? Because I think this has been planned for a long time, especially with these American owners, the likes of Glazer, the likes of Henry, the likes of Kroenke, even Spurs as well. Not so much Man City and Chelsea, but I think they were sort of forced into joining it. But I think these clubs had a plan for a long time of we're going to get signed up to the Super League. So do you think now that, and the fact they've come under so much pressure from fans, there's a real possibility that you could see someone moving on?
I do. It's like anything in a political sense where the heads have to roll at this stage. And I mean, me personally, I hope nobody leaves the City Board because of what happened.
Yep.
As regards the fans, I think the fans felt a bit slighted because they weren't involved in the process, and it was such a shock. I think Gary Neville really G'd up the public and throwing things like football's ruined. There was no evidence to back up the football was ruined in any way, shape, or form. But if UEFA disbanded tomorrow, would that be football ruined? No. And there's always that possibility. At the end, they've been found guilty of corruption. They've been investigated for corruption on numerous occasions. There is always the possibility that UEFA could be disbanded. What would happen? You'd have a Champions League, but it would probably be a different name in UEFA's, or if it was still a Champions League, UEFA wouldn't be on it.
Yeah.
I think the battle that the fans kind of set themselves up for and, calling out their clubs, I was personally thinking, you've got into a fight that was never there. I think the clubs handled it badly. I think there's a bit of naivety from the clubs and the boards that the fans would actually get on side and be excited about this. Where when Neville went on TV, he ended up G'ing up the public and talking about football's ruined, and the fans then had this battle with their own clubs. So I don't think there was ever a battle that they couldn't win because the clubs didn't want to battle with them. You know what I mean? I think maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm being naive, but from where I was standing, it was a perfect opportunity to cut UEFA out. They streamlined the competition. I do understand there was a lot of hypotheticals of playing abroad. I know when you talked the last day, games in Singapore and all, but nobody ever says that this was going to happen. Like it was, it was always kind of.
It was just rumours, and it would have been interesting, Jamie. Right? See if they had a qualification format and a relegation format for this. Would have went ahead. Would have people backed it? I think people were more upset with the fact that there was no qualification for it. Therefore, it would have. But there was only 5 spots qualified, but all these teams are going to be guaranteed on it every year. So it would have possibly impacted the integrity of the Premier League, because if you weren't on the title race, come the last few games, come the last couple of months, you weren't really playing for anything because you were guaranteed to be in the Super League. But if there had been like a top 4 to qualify for the Super League, it might have went ahead and UEFA could have been in real trouble. So I think that's one thing that the owners missed. They were being greedy in terms of, we're going to make sure we have a 23-year contract. We're on this no matter how bad of a season we have. We're going to be guaranteed the Super League. If they had been like a qualification format for it, it definitely would have. I think it definitely would have gathered more piss, because I don't think any football fan is behind UEFA at all.
There was loads of opportunity
over this, but I don't think they're that fond of them. So, do you think? I think Jamie was saying there about Man City, right? And even so Spurs as well, because I think their owners have put them in a position where they probably feel privileged. But if you look at United, Liverpool, and Arsenal, they seem to have a lot of backlash because of their traditions. Being massive clubs, being the biggest clubs in the Premier League for since it started. United, Liverpool, Arsenal, the most trophies. There seemed to be a real backlash from their fans towards their owners. Now we know the Glazers aren't popular. Liverpool owners have come under a bit of pressure this year because of not spending. But before that, the Liverpool owners were very popular because they've delivered the Premier League, delivered the Champions League. They've backed Klopp before, and now they've come under pressure. You've seen the flags upside the stadium. They were ruining football. They were going to take their flags inside the cop down. And you've seen Arsenal now as well, who they've hammered Kroenke for years for not spending. So do you think that they were the clubs that were most hurt? That they're the clubs that Gary Neville spoke about that are supposed to be upholding the traditions of English football, and that the owners were just happy to sign up to this? I think it was almost like a moment where they felt betrayed by their owners. Do you sort of have that feeling as well?
I think for United, you can expect that from the Glazers, and you can expect the backlash too. There's been protests now for 15 years, really, about the Glazers and about the debt that they brought on board. And since 2012, they've been taking massive dividends out of the club every year, like personal bonuses, basically, and not paying off that debt. So the debt's still building and building and building. And I suppose when you look back at the traditions of the club, even when they were Newton Heath, it was started by workers. You know what I mean? So I think it was a bit of a slap in the face.
Yeah.
For the fans. And Liverpool, their owners couldn't do any wrong for a couple of years. They were delighted with their owners and the money that they were spending and getting Klopp on board and their director of football and stuff. So it was surprising to see. It was surprising to see, banners going up outside Liverpool saying "R.I.P. Liverpool Football Club." It was a wee bit surprising. I
think Liverpool fans jumped on that. They felt really betrayed by it. I think because Liverpool have that connection. They always want that connection. I think we're United, where they want the Glazers out anyway. And I think Jamie, you seen yesterday all the news.
The players are going to feel. The players are going to feel. Jesus, that's the fans now. They're against us.
Yeah.
At that stage, do you know what I mean? I think I maybe got to their heads a wee bit.
Yeah, Jamie, you seen yesterday with a United training ground. They blocked the entrance. To be fair, from what I heard, it was peaceful. No one was injured. The police were there, and the social distancing was being up. So everything was regulated in terms of they went about it the right way. But do you feel that sort of went about it very forcefully in terms of they blocked the training ground in terms of no one can get in or out? They wanted to be all over the news. They wanted to show that they're really unhappy with Glazers. You've seen Ed Woodward resigning over the whole Super League thing. Do you think that it's the right way for teams to go about getting owners out? Instead of violence at the stadium, this was the right way to go about it. And that they'll feel that their trust now between the fans is, if it was very fragile, it's gone now completely.
You know what? They peaceful or not peaceful, it's a bad precedent they set. You know what I mean? It's not something that you'd want to see happening at any other club. But it was a one-off, and regardless of peaceful or not, it's intimidating, it's threatening. And you know what? As a football fan, you want to keep your board on side. You know what I mean? You are there. The players, the big players that are brought on this. I know there's an element that they won, but it is a business investment. And if you look at what's happening even at Newcastle, I think Mike Ashley knows he's not wanted, and he's just said he's stalled out. He's not interested in investing in the club anymore.
And they've been protesting for years.
You know what I mean? And this is where you're at. You do need harmony between the club and the fans. You can't have one without the other. And it's not really a case of one's bigger than the other. It really is. You do need to work in tandem. Like what the protests and stuff like that at the training facilities, it's not the right way to go about it. It was a one-off, and glad it passed off peacefully, but it's not the answer. But I also think that if you're looking at it from these people, fans getting angry with the board, I do think the lack of communication was the biggest issue here. And just bringing it back to the league itself, there was a lot of rules that were kind of leaked. It wasn't a final amendment. It wasn't exact. No, if you look at it from a way of going, right, if you started this year and you looked at it from the point of view where, right, Spurs and Arsenal, potentially might not get the top four, and Leicester, who's going to be in the top four, aren't going to be in it.
Yep.
But if you look at it from the point of going, right, well, we're going to start something new, and these are the teams that we want on board. At the end of the day, United's had board members on UEFA for years, and they weren't always in the Champions League. Just because on the pitch, if you don't qualify and don't play, they could have looked at it like that. But that doesn't mean that Spurs, for example, is a badly run club. Arsenal's run really well. Liverpool's run well. City, you all run really, really well. So, but if you look at West Ham's and the potentially could get the top four, but you wouldn't want Gold and Sullivan as part of a board of a committee for a big competition like this. That's not to say West Ham don't deserve to play and be on the pitch and keep the tradition of that. But there's no, there's nothing there to say that these big clubs can't. In the interest of fairness and good running of a club cup competition, that you couldn't have a board member as a representative of Spurs, even if they're not on it, or Arsenal. You know what I mean? So maybe get this first year out of the road, and then look at a qualification system just as the Champions League is. And I think we could have ended up with a better competition than what we're going to be left with. You know what I mean? So we're still.
Jamie makes a fantastic point there about communication between fans and owners and stuff. It's completely gone recently. Doesn't seem to be happening at many clubs at all, especially these bigger clubs. Do you think that that's the reason for that? Is some of these owners aren't really football people? They're more interested in the American side of things, the making money. And then, as we spoke about as well, you can, as Jamie said, protest and all you want, but Arsenal, United, Liverpool, they're all big clubs that are going to keep making money. So where the owners are going to be mad they sell, really, aren't they? Why would they? All right, everyone might not like them, but at the end of the day, their money's still coming in. Fans aren't going to refuse to go to games, even if they did. They're too big. If they're that big, the tourists will go to the games. If all United fans give up their season tickets tomorrow, they'd be bought. That's just the way it is. I think the days of trying to boycott games and trying to boycott spending, it's all gone because all these clubs outside the UK are massive, and they attract massive tourists as well. So, do you think that that's the main reason for it? That just there's a lack of care and there's a lack of understanding with the English fans, and the Irish fans and the rest of the fans in the UK that these owners are just more interested in money and other sports like American football?
Well, it's globalized now. United probably have more fans in Asia than they do in England, which is mad, they think. And probably not just United. The same could be said for a lot of teams in England now. But you're right, 100%. Like all these,
you only have to look at the pre-season tours when they go away. The flocks of thousands that come to see them, and it's only a pre-season game.
Even it was in America. I think it was United and Real Madrid. It was like 90,000.
Yeah, for a pre-season
match
game
in America.
Yeah, that's the only thing that does worry me, Emmett. That will the Premier League end up going abroad, and that could be a big. The Premier League have hammered the Super League, but it would not surprise me if they started playing games abroad. Now, maybe not all the games, but maybe even a couple of games a season, or because you do not want the traditions ruined.
It's not feasible, realistically. All that traveling, it just wouldn't hold out in the long run. But it's interesting when you talk about the owners being primarily businessmen. They're not football people. They don't really care about football. And as we've seen the money in football go up and up and up over the past 15 years, maybe 20. Who's they blame? Who has they blame? Is it just the owners? When you see the money can upload the players, look at the wages.
I think the broadcasters have a lot to do with it as well.
But even the players have a hand in it. Like the money that they're commanding is absolutely ridiculous. Now, you see, if they weren't, think about the money that the owners are paying out in wages every month.
Crazy.
If they weren't paying that out, then they'd be making more money and they'd be able to put more money back into it. I work with a fella from Manchester and we were chatting the other day about it. Obviously, we're chatting about everything that's going on. Yeah. And he was saying, one of the big things for the fans in Manchester is Old Trafford is minging.
Yep.
They're not keeping it, well maintained.
You only have to look at Man City Stadium. It's first class. Like, and you look around the area, it's proper, neat and tidy, and it's well kept. But Jamie, before we move on, do you think that this is the last we've heard of the Super League talk? Do you think that all these owners come out and apologised? But do you still think behind closed doors there's going to be ways they try and get something going? Not maybe now, but the next 5 or 10 years that they'll try and do something again. More of a moral thing instead of not guaranteeing qualification, but there'll be some sort of way they have their own channel set up. They can stream games, and they cut out the middleman, as you say.
I think I don't think it's the last we're going to hear of it, but I think it's the last we've heard of it for now. I just think even the clubs when they pulled out, like when City announced the other night they're pulling out, they're going to lose the trust of the other clubs. If they're going to do this, they need to do it in unison. You know what I mean? So I just don't see them board members being able to get together and go, right, we'll go again. But hey, I doubt it's the end. This has been on the cards 10 years ago. It's come up again now. It'll probably be another 10 years. But maybe they'll learn from the mistakes of what they made here. They'll involve the fans. Maybe they'll just let the Champions League run to its nothing, which like the Europa League did. And it's kind of like, do we want that as well? No, do we want things to be terrible before they change it? You know what I mean? Yeah. So look, hey, maybe the fans have built a rod for their own back here. I don't necessarily think that. I
agree, Jamie. I think you're on the right track, to be honest.
I'm not saying I'm 100% not saying I'm all for it and we should have went for it. No, I definitely had problems in itself, but just the shutdown of it was just. I thought it was too much. I thought there was another side of the story which we could have listened to. And I think Gary Neville got the fans on side here. You know what I mean? And it was kind of. Yeah. And he loves these wee impassioned pleas. I like Gary Neville as a pundit, but I see through his moral stance and stuff. He's very quick to talk about deducting points.
Well, at the end of the day, he's massive money on the Salford. they bring them up to the leagues. So it's very hypocritical again.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, he's not going on and took over his club for just the idea of we'll get up a couple of leagues and we'll be happy days. He is a heavy ambition to get them up and achieve the Champions League. And it might not even be financial back, and it might be just for the fact of pride that he went and done this. That's 100%. And if that opportunity was taken away, so see what he was saying is about the good of football. I don't believe him for a second. I do think he has his own agenda in it. You know what I mean? But I do still see that if you can't qualify, it just ruins all integrity. You know what I mean? But the thing that actually made me think that there's something good going on here is just a sheer desperation from UEFA and FIFA saying that you're not going to play for your country and all. You can't, for a start, you can't do that without rewriting laws and stuff like that. And to me, that just reeked of desperation. Where I was thinking, there will only something here. If you just
they were panicking.
They could work it out.
Panicking, as you say, that was the thing that got me. That the whole racial thing, there was swept under the carpet. They weren't panicking about that. And that's a massive problem. But they were absolutely kicking themselves because they thought that they were going to be left behind. They were going to be cut out, and all their money was took away. And the last thing I want to say on them, right, is there's been a lot of calls from our fans of outside these teams, media, broadcasters, journalists, that they punish these teams that were trying to get into the Super League. It'll be interesting to see now if UEFA do it, because we all know it, that if UEFA ban all these teams for, say, one season, it takes the gloss off their competition. So how realistic is that they happen? And if let's just say they say, we'll just hit them with a few fines, a few thousand here. We've punished them. But realistically, the way they punish them is they ban them for a season. But we know deep down that's probably not going to happen. So what do you think will happen, Emmett?
If they ban anybody even for one season, they're cutting their nose off. They spite their fizzes. It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
not in a million years. Even if they cut one of them out, right? Let's say, for example, they decided this. You know what, United? No, you're not getting Champions League next season.
Yeah.
Who are they going to replace them with? West Ham.
Yeah.
Not a chance.
They want all the big teams on it, so that's why I don't think they will ban them. What do you think, Jimmy?
No, I don't personally think there should be or will be any repercussions. I think the FA understand that their strength is on their teams. You know what I mean? And I think the Champions League and that UEFA know that they can't go down this route. If they start cutting their nose out despite their face and go, right, well, no, you can't play in this league, it'll just restart it all back up again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They'll just come back. And then all that's going to happen is the clubs then actually have the grounds. They tell the fans that, no, even if you don't want it, we're going to do it because they kicked us out of the competition. But the thing that got me is like a lot of the fans are very hypocritical as well. They talk about tradition and stuff like this. And games, you should be winning the right they play in the Murray Court. Let's not forget, 9 teams, 9 different clubs signed. They have Man City ejected from the Champions League based on the FAP thing last year. When we
also Kieran Brady and West Ham were trying to get the league voided last year. They saved them from relegation. So there's all these other clubs. Everyone fends for themselves at the end of the day, don't they?
No, that's the thing. That's the point. It's kind of there's a lot of different instances. The way United never went to the FA Cup years ago started this. If you want to talk about just tradition, these decisions were made, and you didn't see the club, no fans turn around and saying, that's me not supporting United no more. In Liverpool, whenever they played the kids in the FA Cup, and then just wouldn't turn up because they were going on holiday.
As well as I do, lads. People were telling me Liverpool could have been playing Real Madrid or Barcelona in the Super League, and there wouldn't have been people watching. I was getting told that Liverpool fans were going to walk away. Not a hope. They were going to be watching the games at the end of the day.
You would have. Don't get me wrong. If it had been against the whole policy of fans, and I didn't like the non-qualification system, but don't talk about tradition. And when you're talking about you look at UEFA and FIFA. They put a World Cup in Qatar. You know what I mean? Which is not a footballing country, and then they're on about playing it in December, ruining every European league going. And it's like, no, where's the tradition there? It's money. You know what I mean? So,
thousands dead in Qatar building them the stadiums. They don't care.
They've not. They haven't gone on there. They know what they're doing. They're making money. And then I think the way the media and Gary Neville just G'd up the football fans in the UK and Ireland. And I didn't think he had that much power. So fair play to him. But I think everybody jumped on that gravy train instead of just sitting back and just saying, right, let's see how it plays out. You know what I mean? I think we could have all been on something good. But see the question tradition, they've been doing it for years. You know what I mean? So there's no, you know what I mean? There's no real change. Tradition's been slowly moving. At the end of the day, the tradition of the FA Cup, it's not the cup it was. Football moves on. You know what I mean? So it just has to.
And that's what would have happened, in my opinion. People wouldn't have liked it, but they would have got on with it eventually, because there's no way they would have walked away. And you were getting to watch all these big games, they wouldn't have done it. But lads, fantastic chat, fantastic views on that topic, and I think for now we will. That'll be the last of it, because I've talked about it so much this week. I'm looking forward to talking about real football now. So Man City against Spurs, lads, big game at the weekend. Usually at this stage of the season, there's just the FA Cup final they look forward to, and the fact that the game's been pushed back, it just adds the more tension, because I mean, me and Jamie have been chatting about this since that first time you're on, which was January, just after he's beat, funny enough, United in the semi-final. But before we get into the game itself, the date being pushed back, Jamie, do you think that suits Spurs more now? The fact that maybe we might look at it differently because of the fact that Jose Mourinho being sacked and stuff, but just in my point of view, I think that the Mourinho thing was wearing off, and that Spurs had really down tools under him. The players weren't playing for him, and the fact that if you go back to January, February, March, Man City were playing fantastic football. They were smashing teams. They look recently like they've gone back. How they were. They've had any grind out ones. They've had the odd slip on there against United and Leeds, and they look a little bit tired. And you've seen De Bruyne could be out and stuff. So do you think that the dip being pushed back possibly favoured Spurs?
Probably no, but just based on the circumstances, not at the time. I don't think no. I never at one point thought that pushing it back is the detriment to City. Looking at it now, competing in all competitions, we are looking a bit leggy. We're looking a bit tired. Where and it just so happens it's now. So I do think it might play into it, but then hey, it's a hard one to call. It really is a hard one to call. But looking at it now, I wish we played it in March. But in March, I wasn't saying I wish we were playing it now. So I don't really think. I don't think it's a massive help.
Yeah, Emmett, obviously big news this week, but it was sort of swept in like Europe. Was Mourinho being sacked? Obviously, you've had Mourinho for a few years at United. Are you surprised at the timing of the sacking? Jamie, I'm going to get your thoughts on it in a minute. But but cup final, he was brought on. It's ironic that he was brought on to Spurs, not to entertain. Spurs have always been a team that are fond of playing attacking football, but they sort of sacrificed under Mourinho because there was this whole thing that he'll win trophies, he'll get you challenging for titles, he'll win cups, and it's funny that 1 week before a final, Spurs sack him because Levy, and from what I hear inside the club, that there was no faith in him for this final, that they completely lost touch and they basically had no chance. They reckon that if they had them in a cup final, they probably would have rode it out the end of the season before sacking him. But the fact that they gave it, he's such a young and experienced guy, they managed the final. Does it really sum up how Mourinho's sort of phased out of football now?
I don't think he's kept up with the changes in football since his glory days of Porto and Chelsea, and even with Inter and stuff. I don't think he's kept up, to be honest. But one thing I saw the other day was the amount of money that he's got from being sacked. It's like 96 million.
I was going to say it's just under 100 million, isn't it? Crazy, absolutely crazy.
Money. So, but there was, you had all the rumours about him refusing to lead the team out. They training on Monday because of the Super League and stuff. Which whenever I heard about the money that he would get from being sacked, I thought, he's really taking the opportunity here, and I don't think that he thought, they were going to win the cup final anyway.
Yep.
So for him, it's one less cup final they lose, and it's a bit of a payout. So maybe
the only thing is, Emmett, that he's walked away.
Just to get sacked.
Yeah, it's the first club he's been at, and he's not won a trophy. But do you think they'll use the whole Spurs don't win trophies as an excuse? They sort of cover up why he didn't win anything there.
I don't know. I don't know. I've heard a report that that if he had won a trophy, that his payout would have been a lot higher.
Yeah, and they reckon that if he was in the top 4 and got sacked to the top 6, or even he would have been sacked. The fact Spurs are 7th, and they haven't won a cup yet.
If they don't want him and they don't think he's the man to go forward, winning this cup on Sunday doesn't change that. You know what I mean? It's a one-off match. So, if maybe for the longevity, I don't know how much more or what. I don't know how penny pinching.
Jamie, see from your point of view, right, as a Man City fan, I talked about maybe being an advantage, but the fact that, Spurs have played Man City 3 times under Mourinho and Spurs have won 2, and you said before about the whole Mourinho thing, the one game, do you sort of think in the back of your head that you're relieved he's not in charge because it's the type of game where he can maybe get a result? He can set a team up for one game they won. Do you think that maybe, although Spurs might be in a bit of a buzz, that they might be slightly more naive now with such a young manager in there that it might even favour City?
Do you know what? I don't know. It's hard to call. I 100% do see Mourinho. I do believe Mourinho knows how to set up a team, but I also believe that Mourinho had lost that team. I don't think they would have done the job that he would have sent them out to do anyway. So I think now the new manager coming in, I think favours Spurs in a way. I think they're a bit more gung ho. Nobody has anything to lose. If the players get beat, oh, should we get a new manager and teething problems? You know what I mean? If they lose, Mason's 29. You know what I mean? There's so many different. So it's just really a case of nothing to lose, go out and play football. And on top of that, City's not been looking great the last few weeks. I think we have got leggy. I think the games have started. I think they just started to catch up with.
I was going to say, Emmett, do you think the schedule that City's been so consistent, and they do have a big squad, but it's not that big. You know, people. There's a lot of quality in it, but there's about 15, 16 quality players. So it's not like they've got 25 or 26 players. They can swap 11 out for an R11. You know, when you've seen with injuries and stuff, De Bruyne got injured. Do you think that schedule now is really starting to catch up with them? And that, you know, you've seen with Chelsea. I said last week that out of the Chelsea, Spurs, and PSG tie, I thought they would lose at least one. And I thought it might have been the PSG one, to be honest. I thought they would have got past Chelsea, got to the final, and beat Leicester in the final, and then beat Spurs this weekend. But the fact they've lost that first one, do you think that adds more pressure on Jamie, this week? And that Pep's got a big decision to make in terms of, you know, who he plays on Sunday and who he plays on Wednesday with a PSG tie away first?
Do you know what? I don't think he has a lot. I personally, the games that we've lost in recent weeks, we lost to United, a good few weeks ago now, but we changed a lot of players. We lost to Leeds, we changed players. We lost to Chelsea, we changed players. See the lineup that he put out, other than Stones being injured, or Stones is now suspended. I don't see much changing based on what that Aston Villa 11 was between now and the end of the season. I think, I think Cancelo's shown a few frailties defensively. I think down the left-hand side, it's a bit of a pick 'em. You know, I don't think we're really crying out equality in the left-back area, but I think Zinchenko's, I think he has my trust more than Mendy, and I think he has Pep's more than Mendy, so I could see him playing. And I think he's going to keep a settled team between now and the end of the season. You know, we need 8 points to get the league. After that, we can rest, and we have the cup final, and we have the Champions League. You know what I mean? So he just has to push him. But these boys, they want to play. You know what I mean? They want to play. Like, we've been resting Phil Foden different parts of the season. He's 20 years of age. Like, he doesn't really need rest. What he needs is more games, because he's just getting better and better. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah,
Jamie, I think when I looked at it, right, I thought that, it's a final. Of course you want to play in it. But Man City really could have done with this final a few months back, because it's sandwiched in between now a big semi-final tie, the FA Cup semi-final last week. It's a game they really don't need in terms of, because they really want to win the Champions League. And, you know, if I say do you now, obviously you can't do that. But if I say, do you giving up this final on Sunday, means you definitely won the Champions League ticket, no bar, because he's won the League Cup. But football doesn't work like that. And Emmett, the other night, John McGinn scores after 20 seconds. You know, part of he must have thought, oh my God, if Villa come on this, you know, the league's still on for us. But City obviously turned it around. How big do you think that one was for City? You know, the fact that they just lost to Chelsea, they lost to Leeds. You know, they obviously got through against Dortmund, but it was a very tough 2 games. And 1-0 down. If they had lost this, United had won at the weekend. It's 5 points with, 5 games to go, and it's not over. But the fact they got that one, and they've got this final that you look forward to, you think that'll give them a bit of a boost of morale?
Well, 5 points would have been a bit of a sweat for United fans, to be fair. But, you know, for the past couple of months, even when City were, 10 points behind, I think they had a couple of games in hand. They always still looked like they were going to go top.
They've looked the most likely winners, yeah.
Even from the start, United had a very, very shaky start this season. I think that was, because of the late Europa League final and stuff, and not really having a pre-season because of that, and they had a really bad start. But City always looked like they were going to do the business really from October onwards, I think. But the sweat would have been nice. But even with the jam-packed schedule, I suppose it's the business end of the season, really.
Man City've been here before as well. They know how to handle, don't they?
Aye, they've done it before. And to be honest, I can't see past them for. Well, hope all the
I think
injuries.
everybody wants to see a good game. That's a neutral. I don't think anyone's concerned who wins it or not. Obviously, Arsenal fans won't want Spurs they won. United fans probably would rather Spurs won. Liverpool will be the obvious one. Don't want City won because they've had a bit of a rivalry with them. But
well, De Bruyne might be.
I was just going to come to that point, right, Jamie? But which game is more important? Do you think not necessarily for you, but what way do you think Pep will look at it? I know he'll never say, "Oh, I say next game is more important," but what do you think he'll be thinking about? I know it's just a cup final, but the PSG games come so quick. The De Bruyne fitness. He was saying that he could be fit, but more likely probably going to be fit for PSG. Do you think even if he is fit, he'll be on the bench and probably kept back for that game? And do you think personally, there's, the PSG game is really the big one?
I think if you ask, behind closed doors, he would tell you the Champions League bigger. When it is, this is probably the best chance we have of winning it. At our last few games, but see at this moment in time, I don't think you'll actually be looking at players and who's resting boys or anything like that. I just think we need to pick up a bit of momentum again. We lost momentum. I did think we had a good result against Villa the other night, and we're by far the better team. But what we've been doing,
he's played well. To be fair,
we done the same against Leeds. We just peppered them, and it just didn't happen for us. And then they got on a break, and you know what I mean. And do you know what? It was one of them things, and I think there's an arrogance saying we big teams. It's like, oh well, they shouldn't have got that chance. They blame Stones. See that ball, your man Rafinha played through for Dallas for the second goal. If Messi had played it, they've been talking about it all over the world. It was outstanding. Like, you know what I mean? We were caught with a great pass, and he finished it fantastically. We can't argue. But
Jamie, we were talking about it quite a lot, right? Do you think that it's just coming back slightly again, where he's had that in the first half of the season, the lack of a striker, that sort of somebody that can put the ball in the net at every opportunity, like a Harry Kane. Do you think if they were to sign him in the summer, or they're almost untouchable all over the pitch because if they've strengthened their defence? I know Stones just had a few errors recently, but do you think that's a one thing missing that you've seen against Villa? He created so many chances. It shouldn't have really been a 2-1. Should have been 4 or 5-1 against Leeds. It's so many chances. And even against Dortmund over the 2 games, although Dortmund did battle and made it a really good test, City had by far the clear chances over the 2 games.
I think we are lacking a striker, but if you look at actually when we first spoke on this here, I said at the time our upturn in form coincided with Raheem Sterling playing on the right hand side.
Yeah,
now Raheem Sterling has had a dip in form 100%. But what Pep started doing yet again now, he's putting Mahrez out on the right, where everybody's cutting in, everything's getting really narrow in the edge of the box. There's no room for runners. If you've noticed, Gundogan stopped scoring. You know what I mean? Everything that was going really, really well, we've gone back to what we were doing in the first place. Whereas, see, for me personally, the only change that I would make if I was in charge against Spurs, I would play Sterling. I've always been out of form, but I will play him on the right.
Do you think there's a potential issue with Sterling, Jamie? Because he's not really been featuring too much.
No, I just think he's out of form, and I think Pep knows he's out of form. I think Sterling knows he's out of form, and to be fair to Sterling, he's never been one to run and cry and whinge about stuff anyway. He just gets on with his football, and he's snapping at chances. He knows he's a wee bit short, but consistently over the last few years, he's been fantastic. So, for me personally, I like to see him or somebody else on the side who will play naturally right and spread the play. You know what I mean? Because too often now everything's cutting on. Jesus is standing there with 2 centre halves on him all the time. All he can do is be a link-up man. He's playing the role of an Emil Heskey. You know what I mean? And he's doing a good job at that, to be honest with you, but he's not going to get the goals because everything's played so narrow, so high up a pitch. You can't run on behind. You can't do anything. You know what I mean? So he's there like a wall. I like to see Sterling on the right, spread the play a bit, open the room up for runners, let Gundogan get in the box because he's not been scoring since we've reverted back to this formation. You know what I mean? And personally, I don't think Mahrez doesn't get near enough goals for the time on the pitch he has. He's a wonderful first touch, but his goals.
Mahrez frightens me. He can do stuff with as soon as he cuts on the left foot, he'd be panicking. But more so than Sterling. I think Sterling already had that great season where he scored loads and loads of goals, but he can be quite inconsistent from the goal. Whereas I think Mahrez is more likely to take a chance.
Sterling is when you see if Mahrez has a poor match, Mahrez has done nothing. See if Mahrez has a poor match on the right hand side there, left back's walking off a pitch with a bit of sweat. Sterling might not score, he might not assist, but you're in a match with him. And if you look at seeing his time on the right hand side, the amount of late penalties we won, late goals, because he was just hassling them. You know what I mean? He was running at these defenders, and eventually we're going to bring him down. Eventually we're going to get tired. And that's what he done. Because I remember we had Sané at the time, and they were very different in the way they played. But Sané was really graceful and looked wild easy on the eye. But see, if he done nothing. Like where Sterling was always working, he was always turning on his man. He was pressing him, he was pushing the game high, and then he was reaping the rewards himself with his goals coming at the back post. You know what I mean? Because they don't know where they come or go to get near him because he's pissed. What do you think
the front three will be on Sunday?
I'd like to see Sterling to spread the play on the right, but I think they'll go with Foden, Jesus, and might go with Mahrez on the right hand side.
Yeah. Emmett, the big talk today, it broke last night and today is all over the Twitter that Kane is going to be fit to play. He's trained fully today apparently as well. He had run a half session yesterday. And we knew he was going to be itching to get fit. even if he was, he was going to do everything to get that ankle, It didn't look a bad one. It looked like more of a precaution. He didn't have the crutches outside the stadium or nothing. He was able to walk after it. It did look like it was going to be very, very touch and go because there was such a short space between the injury and the final. But it looks like he's going to make it. How big of a boost is that for Spurs? When Kane's is central to everything. He's arguably the most important player to a team, maybe apart from Grealish, apart from the Villa and Grealish. He's arguably the most important player to any team in the league. Maybe up there with Fernandes as well at United. But I still think United can still win games with Fernandes, with Kane not in the team, and only won the other night. But I think Spurs really struggle, especially against the quality mans that they have. So do you think that's a massive boost to Spurs? And it gives them half a chance of pulling off something on Sunday?
100%. The thing with Kane, it's not just the goals. Like his passing, his ability to assist is unbelievable.
I think Son's almost like a passenger when Kane's not there because he needs Kane to give him service.
He does. He definitely does. And I don't know with Son. I don't know if he has the head for it. To do it on his own kind of anymore. And at a point there last season maybe where he was, he could just tackle the ball himself and go for it. But he has been a bit reliant on Kane.
Yeah.
This season. Anyway, I don't know if you feel the same, but I think Kane's kind of it will lie a wee bit deeper, but then and play some through, and that's where I feel.
Do you think that with Kane back, and we've seen about Jamie talking about that left hand side, maybe putting the left back being a possible weakness, that this is the game that's because you've seen Bale start the night that missing a goalie, Bale, Kane, and Son that front three. Do you think that's what he'll do? Well,
Bale hasn't really been starting as much as I thought he would. Like when he first signed, I thought
Emma, because he has had a lot of criticism because of his reputation, and I do think he should be doing more. But I looked at it; he scored 11 goals in his last 11 starts. I know some of them were against poor opposition, but he has a goal threat, and I think that although he can have he's one of them players we talked about. I think Jamie was saying about players having a poor game. Bale can have a poor game and produce a moment of magic. I think he's quite the opposite. So, do you think it would be mad not to throw him on there?
100%. Whether he wants to howl off and bring him on as a sub, maybe an impact sub, if necessary, like Champions League final. He can do it. He can come off a bench and just produce something unbelievable. I think, to be fair, I think Jamie would probably agree. I think Foden can do the same.
Yeah.
So, I wonder whether Foden will start.
I was just going to say,
he's not been featured a lot for Spurs at all this season. Dele Alli,
yeah.
A one-off match. He's had, he's fresh, you know what I mean? Because he's not been overplayed, and obviously has differences with Mourinho. Hasn't helped him, but
I can't see Ali. I think with Bale it's easier to justify playing him. I think he's not really done much in the game. I know he's had the odd moment, but he's not had a run of games. I think that Spurs will play with a stronger midfield in terms of Ali. I can't see him getting there with I can imagine they'll play Bale, Kane, and Son. So I can't see Ali playing because they'll need a better protection there. But
I was actually chatting about that today. If Dele Alli, he's someone that obviously maybe not for Sunday, but I've been looking to play him. Maybe put him in the middle of the park and drop. We Kane dropping deeper. Ali's lost his position on the side. We saw him now playing the left. I think finding somewhere doing like what Pep done with De Bruyne, he dropped him deeper. You know what I mean? Because he's wonderful feet. He's a real difference maker on his day. Like, was he still 24 or something like that day? He's
still young.
There's a lot of football still left to play. Like, you know what I mean? He's young.
You see with Lingard as well. Things can change very quickly in football. So Ali could go somewhere else, and Spurs could be made to look very stupid. If it's a permanent deal, I think United will be. We'll talk about Lingard in a minute. We're going into the rest of the games this weekend, but he's been the best player in the league over the last few months. But Jamie, we were talking about Gundogan's effect. Possibly wearing off a bit. Sterling not doing it. Mahrez being in and out. Like Foden seems to be carrying them at the minute. Not obviously it's a team game, but he seems to be the one that's making a real difference. He's nailed on now to be England's main players. The Euros, everyone's saying it's not even about him going; it's about him starting. So do you think that he's the player that City will be looking most to do something this weekend? I know it's very, very hard for him because he's such a young player, but he's so talented. Arguably one of the most talented players we've ever seen at his age. That this is a big game, and he seems to thrive on that. You've seen against Dortmund, he scored in both legs.
Yep.
He's a big game player.
100%, and he has all the ability. He has a good head in his shoulders. For me, it doesn't matter. He's 20. You know what I mean? He is a big player at City, and the other players, more seasoned professionals, are looking to him to do something. You know what I mean? And that's the standing that he's put amongst himself and himself amongst the players. They look to him. They want to give him the ball, and like I said about Sterling, he can have games where he's not really done nothing fantastic. You know what I mean? But he's always a threat. He always wants a ball. He's always moving. You know what I mean? And that's, you know, that just causes problems. You know what I mean? And for me, I just think the more he plays, the better he gets. And I was trying out to play him in the centre of the park. At the minute, I'm liking his position on the left-hand side. He is left-footed, so he can go wide. He's not always cutting on. You know what I mean? And
he'll fancy it too, Jamie, against Aurier. He'll fancy himself against him. You know, he'll look at that and think, you know, he's a great opponent for me, and you know, I think he could run him ragged. And that's the big danger for me on Sunday. That, you know, Foden's in such good form that it's going to be a big ask. They keep him quiet. If De Bruyne plays as well, that could be a big distance, because we obviously know De Bruyne's quality, but it'll shift more of a focus on De Bruyne as well, and might let Foden be a bit freer. You know, and I think I'll feel a lot better if I see De Bruyne not playing. And maybe we can focus more on trying to keep Foden quiet. I know Man City have loads of quality, but I'm just thinking about the informed Foden. You know, that goal he scored the other night was a brilliant team goal. And there's one stage where he absolutely roasted the right back with a couple of great bits of skill. You know, and that does frighten you. And he's got such. We talked about it before, Jamie. Exactly. And we talked about it before, Jamie. I think your young boys said about it. He's so quick. People still don't realize how quick he is.
It's the way he glides with a ball. You know, he's quick, but the ball never goes more than a yard away from his foot. You know what I mean? He's not a knock on and sprint kind of runner. Like, no, he runs with the ball really, really fast. Like, there's not a lot of players like that. No, Grealish would arguably fall under that category. And what Foden's done now, he's kind of took up the Grealish position on the front, the left of the front three, kind of tucking in a wee bit. You know, not playing as a natural wide man. You know what I mean? He's reaping the rewards. Like, and you know, it's Grealish is somebody I'd love to see at City with him. You know, because I look at boys like these boys. These are difference makers. You know what I mean? Like, you know, because Grealish could play at left-hand side and Foden could cut on, could sit in the mud, and then vice versa. You know what I mean? These boys are just natural footballers. They're better. No, it's not tactical football. It's give the ball to their feet and let them do so. You know what I mean? Like, they'll find you. And that's
Emmett, from a neutral point of view, do you think the fact that Mourinho's not in charge and it's a younger Spurs manager, and he said that he wants to be aggressive, playing the front foot? I know they'll be slightly they will respect Man City. They're not going to be completely stupid, but it'll make for a more open game. That Spurs will be a lot higher up the pitch. And as a neutral, I know you're probably, you know, more so towards you'd rather see Spurs one, maybe a United fan, but even from a neutral point of view, do you think that it'll be a better watch now on Sunday, that more people will be tuning on to watch a great game?
Look, from a United perspective, you never want to see City winning. I mean, call a spade here. Like, you're never going to want to see it. But no, it is going to be a good one for the neutrals now, definitely. But one thing I was going to say, who Jamie, if you had the choice, right, and you have to start Foden or Sterling, who would you start? Because as I said, but Foden's impact off a bench. You know, see, bring him on the last 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and boys when their legs are starting to go a wee bit. It's like Bale. You know, Bale's impact off the bench has been amazing.
I think the way Foden's been playing, it's very difficult to leave him out. But
the difference with Foden is Foden doesn't need to come off a bench to make an impact either. You know, he'll just run you ragged and then still be just as fit in the 70th minute. You know what I mean? Like, so he's just a joy to watch. I mean, I can't speak highly enough of him. I've always, you know, it was exciting watching him come into the team at 17 and just getting a couple of games. You always felt you knew what he was going to do. Like, you know what I mean? But there's been a lot of players like that, but he really is living up his potential. And you know, but he's just a threat. And for me, he has to start. You know, there's just nobody there. You know, I don't look at that City team and look and see goals at the minute. And again, I do put it down to the way we're playing, our style of play isn't helping. I know we have to play with what we have, and but I just don't look at that team and think we've got a lot of goals in us. You know, and I would look at, and like you were saying about the game being open. See, 2 or 3 weeks ago, what I said, I'd play under our hands, but I think now if Spurs go at us hard, like, you know what I mean? I do think we'll be shaky, not shaky at the back, but you know, we'll always have one eye over our shoulder. We won't have this free-flowing attacking football that we play ourselves. You know what I mean? Because we do know, like, Son can score at the drop of a hat. Harry Kane's just like standard footballer. Like, you know what I mean? There's no two ways about it. And Gareth Bale, even though he probably is on the other side of that,
there's a lot of talent on both teams.
Still a lot of talent. That's the main thing.
Jamie, before we obviously Pep's been here, done it before loads of times. You coach like myself. How do you think Ryan Mason will be feeling? You know, he's a boyhood Spurs fan. He's been there for 20. He's 29. He's been there since he's 9. I know he's spent about a wee bit of time at Hull before he had that skull injury, but he came back with Pochettino. He worked with Pochettino as a coach. Pochettino spoke very highly of him, and he was taking the youth team when he got the Daniel Levy come down to see him and said, "Look, we want you to take charge for the rest of the season." You know, he's seen the other days, the youngest manager to ever manage in the Premier League. He got off to a 1-1 start, but they managed in a cup final in just your second game. He's not even 30 years of age. How do you think he'll be feeling? As a Spurs fan, do you think he'll still be reeling, over the moment and sleepless nights thinking about this big opportunity to lead his team out at Wembley on Sunday?
I don't want. I think he just embrace it. It's a strange scenario he's found himself in, but you know what? He surrounded himself with good footballing people. I know that Poyle's in the dugout with him. I know that Ledley King's been in the dugout. He's going to be in the dugout with him.
Ledley King, Chris Poyle, he managed to chart and stuff around him. So
there's good football. No, there's a bit more experience there with him. But what you're getting, no, I don't really play on for Sunday because he's only there such a short period of time on the hot seat. But if he goes in, talks well, tells the boys to go and express themselves. You know what I mean? I think it's not like it's not City turn up against Accrington and Stanley here. You know what I mean? There's a really good quality footballers get out in the pitch, and you know what I mean. He's going to tell it. No, I was always telling them to go and express themselves. You have every chance of getting the result. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I do think going down the line, Sunday aside, having somebody who's still so young and so fresh out of the game is fantastic. We talked about Mourinho. Mourinho's one of the greatest managers ever, but the game has passed him by and moved on. Whereas you're talking about a player who was literally playing the game a couple of years ago. You know what I mean? And so he's seen both sides of it, where he's going from playing.
David, do you know what I think was very promising for Spurs, right? And it's only one game, but Spurs haven't won a game. So they were down at 1-0 half time, and it's the first time they've come back. They won a game in the Premier League at half time since 2019, right? So, and Spurs are very poor in that first half. You just swore it was just an hour game where Mourinho was in charge, but the second half performance was very, very good. Probably the best we've played in a long time. Really, Southampton should have been out of sight in that first half, but they didn't take their chances, and Spurs come back and they had that goal chalked off, which I thought was very harsh. But eventually they kept going and got the winner. And Gareth Bale, after the game, we spoke about decorative managers. He's a very decorative player. He said it was a great halftime team talk, Emmett. So do you think that hearing stuff like that's bound to be positive, that the players are on side? We've seen Harry Kane tweeting that they're buzzing that Ryan's got this opportunity to come on and manage for the rest of the season. So do you think that they're Spurs are not in a great place, but they're almost in a better place than they would have been going into this game?
I definitely look. They don't have that pressure on them, as Jamie said earlier. If they do lose, they can just say, "Oh well, teething problems, new manager." But I was kind of thinking, it could have the same effect. You remember Everton? I think it was last season. When they had like Duncan in there for a few games. They were playing like Barca. 2008 Barcelona. Liverpool, could have the same kind of effect, and especially because he is so young and he's probably going to have fresh ideas. He won't be as stuck in his ways as Mourinho was. I think Mourinho was kind of one-dimensional.
Yeah,
he just had one kind of set idea, but a tunnel vision, and it didn't do him very much good, to be honest. So hopefully, now that Ryan Mason coming in, will have and taking over, will have the same kind of impact, even if it's just for the rest of the season. But it's going to be interesting to see, and definitely now, on his man management, obviously must be decent if he's able to turn the team around at half time like that, make a comeback. So it's going to make it interesting for Sunday.
Emmett, last thing we'll chat about, lads. I'm going to ask you both about this. Start with Emmett. Me supporting Spurs a long time. A lot of my family are Spurs men, and they've been in many a cup finals, and it usually ends in tears. And we heard all about it all the time, that Spurs haven't won anything for a long time. No trophy for 13 years. There's still that Spursiness tag we've seen this year more than ever. The fact they've been up 1-0 how many times and not seeing games out. That's gonna be aimed at Spurs again now coming into this game, and if they don't want it coming out of it. Do you think that's going to add more pressure to them Spurs players, that they know the reputation of the club? That the team itself, some of them have been there quite a long time, and they've been in positions where they've had semi-finals and finals and lost them. So do you think that's the thing that Spurs will be? More than anything, I'd love to. It's only the League Cup, but just to get that monkey off our back now, because it's been so long. We've been starved of silverware. We need to win this. But I can summarize all that. It's a big thing for Spurs to get to the final. It still is. We don't get that many, but everybody as well. You see all the neutrals, they'll be all itching to get at me. They'll be all looking for Man City to win so they can tag me in every post on Facebook. Bottle jobs and all this here. So is that another thing that Spurs are fighting against this weekend? Despite playing they're playing a very, very good side, but they're almost having to try and beat themselves too.
No, look, at the end of the day, you have to take every match individually, and look, they're coming up against Man City. It's not going to be an easy match. I think if they lose, it'll be understandable. They can't, that tag. That's just people winding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That is just a wind up. All right.
Hey, what a way to shake off the tag if you can do a Man City.
Well, exactly. This is it. And I'm arguably, a wee bit. The argument then, if they do, they'll probably say, but Man City weren't at their best. There's always going to be something there.
Even I can see it in your eyes. You're saying I can't see any way Spurs can win, and I know you're saying that. Obviously Man City are a better team, but I know you're saying that based on history as well, and based on the fact that Spurs have a reputation for getting to these finals and not turning up. And I think that's why you're more or less saying, even like Gareth Bale, Harry Kane, Son, all them players, and you're still thinking, still can't see how they won, and that's just because of the Spurs tag, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's not 100%. It's 100% not. It's because of Man City.
Yeah.
It's because of Man City. Regardless of who Man City are playing, I always fancy City to win. Yeah. Even the last time United beat them, I still thought City were going to win.
Yeah.
I don't even like watching United and City matches because I don't want to see us get. Even though we haven't been bad over the past couple of seasons, I still don't want to watch it because it can just change a game in an instant.
Yeah.
And anxiety was through the roof watching them. They're just that good, and they have been over the past 5-10 years more or less now.
Yeah, they've been excellent. Jamie, same to you. We know all about the Spursy tag, the softness they have at times. It breaks my heart to say it, but I can't ignore what's happened in recent years. And the one thing you could maybe look at that it is Man City. Even if they lose the final, they're not expected they win anyway. And the fact that it's Ryan Mason, there's maybe not as much pressure on. But it's still a cup final, and you're still expected to go. You've seen Wigan beat Man City in a cup final. We've seen bigger. This won't make a history books for the biggest shock ever, but it would still be a shock to a lot of people. So do you think that maybe releases a wee bit of pressure on Spurs, or you still think that the fans are going to be on their backs, because they really want this trophy dried out as soon as possible?
I think that anybody. I don't look at the history of Spurs and think that they're soft because it's a one-off game. They have great players there. I think on the surface, they have nothing to lose. They're the underdogs. They've got a new manager, and that's 29 years of age. And there's that wee element. And people, you can play on it a bit and say you're happy to be, but these are top players. These are Harry Kane. It's all right. People saying Harry Kane might leave if Spurs don't start winning cups, but then they'll be looking. Well, why is Spurs not winning cups? Saying if Harry Kane's that good, where's he? You know what I mean? He's put himself in a position now where he could single-handedly win this game feast on Sunday. You know what I mean? So there's pressure on these players. I don't think there's any get out of jail free card. I think maybe just public perception. They might think that Spurs are underdogs, so if they lose it, there's no big deal. But these players are top players. They want to compete. They want to show their best. The majority of them is going to be going to Euros. You know what I mean? And they're going to be wanting to put their best foot forward. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's a gaming match at all. There's teams I would far rather play than Spurs in this final on Sunday, and I do think that we have everything there to go and win the match. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a Spurs win, but Spurs run this game. There's no two ways about it.
We'll get into the prediction at the very end. We're going to go through the rest of the games. But I'm starting tonight, Premier League. I always great to have a Friday game. I'm actually going to haven't been at a party for a long time, but it's actually my cousin's 20th, so going to a garden later on for a few beer and probably watch this match. So great to see Arsenal Everton. Should be a decent game. Both teams haven't. Everton might still feel they have a great chance of finishing in the top 6, but that chance seems to be the one every week now. And Arsenal, they're going to be firmly focused on the Europa League, so it should make for an attacking game because both teams haven't got a lot to lose. How do you see this one going, Emmett?
Well, Everton's form hasn't been great of late. I'm going to say Arsenal 1-0.
1-0 Arsenal. What about you, Jamie?
I'm going to go score draw. I'm thinking maybe 1-1, but I want to go 2-2 just in the hope it's a good game.
Interesting. There's a protest at 6 o'clock outside the Arsenal Stadium. And you seen that with Chelsea the other night. I thought it impacted the game. The players might not be in the right frame of mind, so it might make for it could be a potential. It's hard to call this game type of thing. And I just think that Arsenal are going to be firmly focused on the Europa League, and with a protest that might catch them off guard. And I think this is might possibly a game. Everton have won more games away from home than they have at home. So I'm going to go for a 2-1. Everton 1. Moving on to Saturday, Liverpool against Newcastle at 12:30 tomorrow. Emmett. Every game's a must-win now for Liverpool if they want to finish in the top 4. Funny enough, they looked at this a few weeks ago and thought Newcastle's a cert, but Liverpool's form at Anfield hasn't been great. Needed that one against Villa at the very last minute. Arnold scored. Only the one victory in 2021 at home. And Newcastle have turned a bit of a corner. And we sit maximum back. We're going to carry a big counter-attack threat. So how do you see us going?
Well, they did 3-2-1, wasn't it?
Newcastle beat West Ham 3-2, they beat Burnley 2-1, and they drew with Spurs 2-2. So 7 points in the last 3 games since international break.
The 3-2, I think, was the biggest shocker, definitely, against West Ham. No, Liverpool have kind of picked up a wee bit, recently. All right, they had that really bad run there, but I think they're coming around a wee bit. I know they had a draw there, but against Leeds, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, I think they'll be there. I think they'll handle Newcastle no bother this time.
Yeah, what do you think?
I say 2-0.
2-0. What about you, Jamie?
I go 3-1 Liverpool. I think they've turned
3-1 Liverpool. I think they'll be too strong, and I think Newcastle might be feeling their shift now as well. They've got them points. So I think Liverpool won this. I'm going to go 2-0 as well. West Ham against Chelsea, possibly the biggest league game of the weekend. Both fighting for top 4. West Ham at the minute seem to be, from being so solid throughout the season, they seem to be having to score 3 goals, and every week they get a result. And I just wonder, is that down to nerves, lads? And they've never been in this position before. And we talked about, we're going to talk about Lingard because Emmett, a lot of people were saying about Lingard before being past it, and there's almost a case now of him making the England squad. He's been playing that well. Personally, do you think that United will be mad to let him go now in the summer? Do you think they need to try and bring him back into a team and, if not a starter, make him a very good squad player?
Oh, well, Lingard, he's still young, he's still got a few years in him. He's not young at all.
But I can't believe how quick he is. Honestly, I can't believe how some of the goals he's been running away people for fun, and he hasn't played a lot of football.
No, he had a lot of personal problems over the past couple of years. I know. I think his ma was unwell, and he had a younger brother and sister, and he was kind of focused on looking after them, which obviously was interfering with his football, and Ollie knew that, and he was giving him the time. But obviously it was affecting him, and he just couldn't break back into the first team, really. I think there's just, when you look at the players playing at the moment, like Greenwood's there, Fernandes.
Do you think he thrives off being the sort of main man? Do you think he's sort of found a level at West Ham where it suits him, and everyone looks to him, he can almost thrive off being the main man?
He's definitely got a bit of an ego about him. He brought out a clothing brand, like.
Yeah.
He definitely enjoys being that star man. He is thriving off it. But we'll see how long it continues.
Yeah, and of course, up against a really top side against Chelsea. They've been the form team since Tuchel coming. Really, they're in the final, the FA Cup semi-final, the Champions League, and they're probably. I looked at their fixtures. So their fixtures are probably tougher than everyone else's for the top 4 now. And the fact they slipped up against Brighton, and I just wonder, like with Man City, is their eye on something else now? The fact they're in the FA Cup, they're in the Champions League, that the top 4 might be one that gets away from them. But this is a big game, and Jamie, do you sense they're hitting West Ham possibly at the right time? They're getting a bit nervy and they're looking a bit sloppy at the back.
I know. I think it. I think that it's just going to be an open match. I think that both teams can. I can see goals. Like I say, I think
it's going to be a great game. A great game for the
just bringing it back to Lingard there. I just think he's been playing super football. Talking going back to United. To be honest, I'm not just being anti-United. If I was Lingard, the last place I want to go is back to Old Trafford. He's not a kid no more. Like, and he just reached the West Ham for me. He's only growing up.
Yeah,
it's always them boys. That look great. Your Trevor Sinclairs, your De Canios, your even Jermaine Defoe. You know what I mean? There's these boys. They play good football. They play with a bit of a swagger. And for me, he fits that bill. You know what I mean? And he's done really well. I don't really think it's a case of being the big fight because there's a lot of good players in that West Ham side. You know what I mean? There's some really good players on that side. Like, but I think he fits in, and the manager trusts him. You know what I mean? He wants him to play, and if I was him, I'll be doing everything I can to get myself a permanent deal there. Like,
I think if United can get 30 million from him, I think that's the rumoured fee, they'll be happy to let him go. And that would be good money for United. You know what I mean?
No, I think it's good money. It's one of them things, though. It's hard to put a market on it, but let's not forget, 3 months ago, they didn't want him. You know what I mean? He was there. He was kicking about. I hate to think United's going to hold him to ransom or hold any club to ransom. They get a fee. Like, just let him go. You'll get a hefty sum. You know what I mean? Let him go and play football. Like, because there's no, like, there's nothing for him at United. Even the way United play, I don't think he would fit on there. You know what I mean? I don't.
What about you? I seen you saying there. I seen 30 million, and you shake your head. You think you should possibly get a bit more from?
No, I heard it before. Not a hope. Like Jimmy's spot on there. There's no point trying to haul out for something like 30 million. for him, for somebody that's just been sitting on a bench for the past year and a half. You know, there's no
Do you
point.
not think there's a possibility they could get that now because he's had such a good spell that his values went up?
No.
You don't see it.
Well, there's the possibility. Like,
I don't think so. I don't think it's been long enough. He hasn't been doing it long enough.
Fair enough, but if West Ham value him at 30 and they want to pay the 30, happy day. I just wouldn't like to see United.
From what I've seen,
From
what I've seen in West Ham accounts, they're actually get him and they said they would pay up to 30 million for him. So I think there's a possibility they could get great money from and a great deal for all parties. But I think it does hinge on, from what I've seen, West Ham's finances, and top 4 is the only way they'll be able to afford him. So anyway, lads, what do you think for that game on Saturday? I'll start with you, Jamie. West Ham, Chelsea, 5:30 prime time. Weller's going to be good. Probably sit at the back and watch this with a few beer.
I'm going to go 2-1 Chelsea. I think West Ham can be that. And I think it'll be 2-1 Chelsea.
What about you, Emmett?
I was thinking the same, but I think maybe West Ham might concede 1 or 2 more. Chelsea haven't been spectacular at scoring loads of goals.
I find Chelsea's very similar to Man City at the minute, Jamie, where they create a lot of chances, but they're just missing that clinical striker.
I agree. Very similar.
Werner and Havertz just haven't really been clinical enough in front of goal, but West Ham being a bit leaky at the back. I'm going to go a wee bit more. We're going to go 3-1.
3-1. I'm going to go you, Jamie, 2-1. James is saying 0-0 Chelsea and 3-0 Liverpool. I will say a Liverpool fan. He's thinking about the top 4. But moving on to Saturday night, Sheffield United against Brighton. Sheffield United are down and out. Brighton, probably if they win this game, they'll be safe for another season. And I think everyone will say they deserve to be safe. They play some great football. Very unfortunate, but in there, just as we talked about, lack of clinical. So front must not top striker, or they'd be up there, probably in the top half of the table. So how do you see this one going, Emmett?
Well, Brighton have a couple of good games there recently. I'll probably be open and shut for Brighton 2-0. There's just not much happening in that Sheffield side. There was, I watched them a couple of weeks ago. I can't even mind now for the life of me. I think it was against Arsenal. They played Arsenal recently, didn't they?
They got hammered, didn't they? 3-0.
But there was a moment when they came out in the second half, and they were playing amazing football for about 10 minutes until they got near the box. It was like a different side just come out in the second half, but as soon as they get anywhere near the box, it was just pathetic. So
there's a really lack of quality. How do you see this going against Brighton? Then? Do you think Brighton will get the 1-0 secure safety?
It'll be 2-0, comfortable 2-0.
2-0. Jamie?
I don't want. I would go 2-0 as well. I think Brighton look very good at the back. I think they look really solid there. Even like they've got some good players, but like Sheffield United, they're not scoring a lot. But the difference is Sheffield United's not scoring and they're shipping goals. So I'll go.
You almost feel if you score 1 goal against Sheffield, it's going to be enough.
They're letting goals on this. You know what? It's strange though because they've got some solid defenders who at times are putting in. It's just I don't know what way they're set up. They're just people are just walking through the middle of them at times, like and to the midfield, and they're just not the team they were last year.
I think as the season went on, Jamie, they just give up towards it was they lost that that sort of toughness that they had in midfield and the defence. They lost it.
I think it was when your man was at I can't remember his name now. He's just he said he wasn't signing the new deal, and it just kind of left a wee bit awkward. Like there seemed to be there's confidence went or something like that, and it was just kind of I don't really know. Lundstrom, was it John Lundstrom? I think it was. He said he was holding out in his contract, and things just started to go downhill from there. He stopped playing. The team stopped playing when he wasn't there, and they just don't look. They look a shadow of what they were doing last season. You know what I mean? Like they look really, really good for coming up. Maybe they were just running on adrenaline, getting the Premier League. I don't know, but they looked great last year. It was just really falling away this year. Like, but I'll go.
So you fancy 2-0 Brighton as well?
2-0 Brighton. I'm
going to go 1-0 Brighton. I think they'll get the 1 as well. Wolves against Burnley, 12 o'clock, BBC 1 on Sunday for terrestrial TV lovers. Anyone doesn't have Sky, I'll be looking forward to it. I know my gran and granda used to love games on BBC and ITV, so everyone loves it was just on a bit of BBC game and an ITV game when Champions League was on. Everyone just seemed to love it. So BBC 1, Wolves against Burnley, probably not be a classic, but it's something for people that don't get the opportunity to watch Sky every week. I'll love it. So, Emmett, how do you see this going? And just on that, do you think that BBC should be getting more games? At least 1 game every weekend?
It's a money thing, isn't it? It's all about money. I don't think that they can afford it. There's just too much money tied up in the contracts between Sky and the Premier League. So the BBC definitely couldn't even begin to get the level of games that we would all like, I suppose. But Wolves, Burnley. Wolves have had a couple of decent games there. I know they had 1-0 against Sheffield, but Burnley against United.
I couldn't believe when I seen the table this morning. Burnley have actually slipped down to 17th. They're the team that are closest to the bottom three because they've everyone associates Burnley being hard to beat, but over the last few weeks they've had a few poor results and they've lost against teams down near the bottom. You've seen Newcastle beating them and stuff. And Wolves now are probably safe after that one last week. So do you think this is a good fixture for Burnley that they can go to Wolves and Wolves might be in the holiday camp now?
I was, to be honest, I think Burnley are gonna get something out of this.
Yeah,
I think they'll get at least a point. At least against United, they did look dangerous.
Yeah,
against United, like they had that goal in the first minute. It was just about offside. Obviously it was, but a dodgy goalkeeping from Henderson as well. But they did look dangerous. And big Chris Wood up front always poses a threat. So I reckon this will be a draw. This one, to be honest.
You fancy score? Sorry,
1 each. I think
1 each. Yeah, Jamie, go ahead.
I'm going to go 0-0 on this one. I don't see.
No.
And the Wolves aren't really scoring a lot. There's not scoring as good many as the were since Jimenez has been injured. But they're still solid at the back. You know what I mean? And so I just think it'll be a bit of a board draw.
I think it's on the radar, Jamie, that everyone associates Wolves being out because they finished 7th, I think, 2 years in a row. But if you take Jota out and you take Jimenez out, I think it's been completely on the radar that Santos done a really, really good job because you look at the lack of goals. There's a big case that they could have been relegated, but they were able to dig in, drag out results, and I think that's when someone's on the radar. People associate them being better than what they are, but I still think player for player, and if you look at the squad,
they play
really
good
well.
Football. They play very good football right across the pitch. Even when Doherty was playing at right back or right wing back, and they played great football. But Jimenez and Jota were two difference makers. They were scoring goals. I like Neto. Neto looks brilliant. He's only 19. I know he's out. He won't even make the Euros, but he even Puddens, I think they've got good quality footballers. Espirito Santo was linked with a Spurs job this morning as well. I read.
I've got my reservations. I'll tell you about this at the end of the show. What's going to be coming up, but I will get into that. But you fancy 0-0 Wolves Burnley? I'm going to go Emmett this time 1-1. I think this will be a draw as well. Looking forward to this game. 2:00 Leeds against Man United. This will be the warm up before the big cup final. Leeds are always an entertaining watch. We've seen against Liverpool. They took a lot of Liverpool's best shots in that first half, and in that second half, the chances they won the game, never mind get a draw. And they fully deserved that point. And I think with Leeds, I don't think, even if there was a sense of, they're safe, not much to play for, that Bielsa wouldn't let it happen. You can see they're going to be fighting for every point until the very end. He's that type of manager. You even see, I've seen a game, they were 3-0 down against Spurs, and he was still rolling and shouting in the 92nd minute, when the game's done, really. But he's that type of manager. So, just on Leeds, Emmett, they've been a breath of fresh air to this league, haven't they?
It was the start of the season. They really made it interesting. I mean, they had a really, really good start this season.
That game against Liverpool sort of set them up for the season that they had.
Definitely. And they kind of ran with that momentum a wee bit. All right, they've had a couple of up and down moments, but no, it is good. It's good to have them back. You get it, but a wee rivalry back again. But I think it's going to be another day at the office for United this week.
United seem to be flying, and away from home, they're incredible. So you fancy them? They won this?
Aye, there'll be no bother. Like I think at the minute
they won't have one eye on Thursday against Roma, no.
No, well, they're all like at the minute the squad primarily are quite young and fit. Obviously, you've got the old boys there like Cavani and Shaw's still young enough, I suppose. But no, they'll be dead on. It'll just be business as usual.
Yeah, and score prediction?
I'm going to say I'm going to go 2-1.
2-1. Jamie?
I'm going to go 2-2. I think Leeds are a team that's finding a bit of form, but like right throughout the season, they're a team they never know when they're beaten. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's hard to predict them.
You know what I mean? United aren't, they're not the most solid at the back. They're not laying goals left, right, and centre. Don't get me wrong, but just seeing them firsthand the way they played at City, They can defend well, they can attack well, they've got quality in the right areas of the pitch.
And this will be Leeds Cup final. The one game they've been looking forward to at the start of the season would have been United at home.
100%. Like, and they're finding their feet more and more. Bielsa is getting his message across, and the players are playing that better. And you know what? Because you could have said at the start of the season, because they had a wee blip there. They started well, had a wee blip, and they've come back. And players that you might have thought like Bamford, they would never cut it. You know what I mean? Yeah. This is a few matches, but you know what? He's looked at threat. He's tailored his game. He's a good quality Premier League striker. And they have goal, and the thing is, they're scoring goals from all over the place. You know what I mean? Their defenders are pitching on with goals. It's So
they're very good from set pieces. They're not so good at defending them, but they're very good at attacking them. What you fancy 3? You fancy 2-2? I think he's on the right track here. I think there's going to be loads of goals in this game. And I think United might just edge it, so I'm going to go for a 3-2. United 1. And then bit of a derby at 7:00. Villa against West Brom. Bad defeat for West Brom last night. They really need they have to win most of their games. They stay up. It's fucking impossible. But Villa look like they're just their season's fizzling out, Emmett. So possibly a good opportunity for West Brom to get another 3 points and maybe make a fist of it towards the end.
Well, they can't really afford to drop anything now at this stage. They need all the points they can get.
Villa, they're 9 points adrift with 6 games to go, so they need at least 3 to draw level. So we're probably going to have to win 5 of them 6, which is going to make it very difficult.
They're more or less done, but Big Sam's going to keep fighting.
They're going to pull off maybe a result this weekend, because Villa are possibly seen against. They look a bit tired and they're missing Grealish. They really are.
What do I see here? I'm going to go 1-1.
1-1. Jamie?
No, I think Villa's going to win comfortably. I think they'll win. I'll go 3-0 Villa.
You think Villa want to put the last nail in their coffin?
Watkins loves these kind of games. This is his bread and butter. You know what I mean? He does well his work rate against the top teams, and against the bottom teams, he gets his goals. And I say it means 3-0 because West Brom they've just been toothless.
Villa and West Brom are rivals too, so Villa might be motivated to relegate them. But I just have a feeling we're going to see a big Sam masterclass on Sunday. I'm going to go for a 1-0 away 1 for West Brom, and they can live their fight another day. But Monday night, lads, Leicester against Crystal Palace. Another chance for Leicester. They make sure they're secure in their top 4 finish. Do you think they'll be able to do that, Emmett?
Easy. They'll make short work of Palace. Definitely, I'm going to say 2-0 at least.
Yeah, I think Palace are on their holidays as well. I see this every year with them. I think it's even added the fact that it looks like Hodgson, his contract's up, he's going to be stepping down. And I think most of their players are out of contract. It's a very strange one. So there's very little for them to play for. Do you think this is a good fixture for Leicester, Jamie?
Oh, definitely. Do you know what? I think I have to say, Leicester, I've been so impressed with them this year. I've watched Rodgers. Maybe I'm just not here, but I think he's absolute masterclass what he's done this season. He's going to a team that had a way of playing with Jamie Vardy. And if you watch from the start of the season, they know you, and you watch the resurgence of Iheanacho, the way they play has adapted the Iheanacho's game and all their strikers, because not many strikers play the way Vardy does that sit deep, put it forward. He's instead of just changing gung-ho, and then he's slowly but surely he's brought it on where he's needed to. Against the bigger times where he's soaked up and used Vardy's pace, and at Route 1 football. But what he's done, they kind of slowly phase it out, has been absolute, and without dropping points and consistently doing so well. You know what I mean? He's absolute masterclass of management. He's done a brilliant job.
He was City Academy, wasn't he, Jimmy?
Not Chelsea.
Right.
So you fancy another one for Leicester, Jamie?
Oh, definitely. I will go 3-0. 3-0.
I'll go 2-0. I think they'll get another massive 3 points. And lads, only one fixture left, and that's the big cup final on Sunday at 4:30. We'll start with you, Emmett, neutral. How do you see it going?
9-0, sorry.
No, look, I think it's going to be. It will be tight. Obviously, it will be tight, but I'm going to say 1-0 City.
1-0 City. Jamie?
I'm going to go. No, this is obviously things have to go our way. I would actually go 3-0 City.
3-0.
Not to say that it wouldn't be a close match. I think it'll be a very close. I think it'll be a close match. I think we could get a couple of late goals in just to be Spurs pile on the pressure.
Yeah, I It's ironic, I think I had no hope on this game. I just have a wee bit now with this new manager. It's funny that Spurs haven't been able to see out 1-0 leads all season, but I think this might be the day that they do it. I'm going to go for Harry Kane. They write himself on the Spurs history and get the winning goal. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 Spurs one. We're going to withstand a lot of City pressure. We're going to hang on for that 1-0 victory. So you heard it here first. A Harry Kane 1-0 one. And James Keenan saying 3-1 Spurs. Where you go?
Jesus.
So maybe I'm not the only one that's thinking it. But lads, thanks very much. I really enjoyed the podcast. Really good crack. Really good banter as well. On slightly longer than we planned as well. But, it was really good crack and some great comments coming as well. We'll definitely get you back on again, hopefully, before the end of the season.
Thanks for having me.
Jamie, we'll definitely have you on too. And I imagine that if Man City make that Champions League final, we'll have you on before that as well. And we'll have you on for the title parade as well. Barring an absolute collapse, you're going to be champions as well. So great to have you on, lads. And coming up tomorrow night, everyone's been asking me for years, why do I support Spurs? So you're going to hear all about it tomorrow night. We're doing a Spurs special. We've got Mickey Mack, who obviously Emmett knows and a lot of people know. He's going to be making his debut on the podcast. My daddy's coming on for the first time. And we also have Jared Dillon as well, a big DJ that a lot of people know around the city. So 3 Spurs fans, myself, 4 big Spurs fans, going to be talking. You're going to hear all about how we started supporting Spurs, our Spurs story. All the people say we've no history. We're going to tell you about the history. We're going to tell you about the bad times as well. How we think about the Mourinho sacking. And how obviously leading up to the cup final on Sunday against Man City. I'm sure we'll be reminiscing. A couple of lads will remember the Ricky Villa goal against Man City. We'll be hoping for something similar on Sunday again. But lads, thanks very much, Jamie. Enjoy the game on Sunday. And Emmett, thanks very much for coming on.
Cheers, lads.